New Hope. We're heading into the home stretch regarding our conversation and our discernment and decision on 49 Main Street. It's kind of the last leg of the journey. We're turning the corner. We can see the finish line in sight, and I'm excited to see how God will bring us this last leg of the journey. These past 2 months have been kind of praying about and then investigating and then discussing and just seeking God's will to say, is this an opportunity that He's giving us? And I hope that for you, that it's been like it has been for me, that with this sort of a big question in front of us, I hope it's caused you to pray more, to dig in more into Scripture, to have more conversations, to really seek after God's will, because we obviously don't want to make foolish decisions. We don't want to make impulsive decisions. But these last 2 months, January and February here, have been a long season of just considering lots of things, lots of meetings with town people and with owners and with other churches in the area and all these sorts of things. So if there's any way that this process can deepen our relationship with God, cause us to pray more, cause us to dig into His Word more, then that alone is a beautiful victory and byproduct of this process. But as we head into this last part of this process, we do need to come to an eventual decision. And as Michelle and I talked with Jose last week, he shared with us that he will need our church to make a decision by the end of February, because the grant monies that need to be dispersed need to be used by May. So he has another couple of months to get the contractors in there and do things like sprinkler systems and cooling and windows and bathrooms and whatever the grant monies will cover. But because that is his deadline imposed by the state, he can't give us 6 months to consider this. We'll have had, in effect, 2 months, January and February. And so when Michelle and I heard that from him, I was like, okay, well, this gives us a clearer timeline, but also hit home a little bit more. Like, okay, this is getting real. We're talking about deadlines and timelines and votes now. Like, are we going to move forward? So we brought the information this timeline information back to the mission directors, and we talked and prayed and said, yeah, for us, we absolutely want to bring this to a vote as a church. We want to pursue this. We want to present it to you as something that we've investigated to the best of our ability with the time and resources that we have so far, and say this is viable, this is exciting, this is a great opportunity. We would like to pursue this. And so then we need to, as a church family, take a vote to say, do we all agree? Do we concur? This is something that God is presenting to us. So with the end of February coming on a Monday, we are planning to have a church meeting here at the chapel on Tuesday evening, March 1st at 7 p.m. to have one final conversation. We'll talk about it, obviously, this coming Sunday. We have one more Sunday to discuss it together on Sunday mornings. That's the 27th, I believe. And then we'll gather again Tuesday night the following week on March 1st and just say, okay, to the best of our ability with what God has shown us so far, with the things that He's speaking into our hearts as far as callings and dreams, with the questions that we've needed to get answered, with anticipation of sale prices of the chapel and purchase prices and renovations, to the best of our ability, we feel like this is a move that we want to make all together. Because I think there's 7 of us on the mission direction team. Like, this isn't a decision for 7 people. We can't say, okay, well, 7 people are going to go and do something of this. We all need to be in it together. And so if we come to that vote and find that the church body as a whole wants to and feels led to take this step together, then we do it together, and we do it in confidence, feeling like God has put this on our hearts. He's given us this opportunity. And for me personally, I would love to look back 30 years from now and say, look what God did with the first 30 years of New Hope in this location and this type of ministry, and look what He did in the next 30 in a new location. I do feel called to this place. And even if it isn't this place, it would be a place like this. So I feel like if we don't take this opportunity, we'd be looking for something exactly like it within the next few years, because God's calling us to be more connected. We need something that will help us reach the lost in a more effective way, and I feel like our building is supposed to be part of that outreach. It's supposed to be part of that connection to the community. So this is a wonderful opportunity at great prices comparatively. Obviously the numbers are all big, but that's the money part of it. And God has kept us in this church against all the odds for 35 years. We've not been, it's not supposed to work. Our finances are not supposed to work for these years, but they have, because God's been in it. And I feel God calling me to that place. I want to be there. I feel like Him setting a vision before us of what it could look like has been inspiring us all. And as I hear different people in our congregation say, I want to be there because I could use it this way, or I want to be there because then this would give us an opportunity to minister in this way, I see people coming alive. And I was like, okay, this is going to be good for us. This is going to be a beautiful thing. But again, it's not just my decision. This is something that we need to see and feel all together. And then say, okay, yes, collectively, we're all in agreement. And then we move forward together. So the way this last week, before we come to our final meeting and vote on the March 1st date, will go is that tomorrow evening, which is Tuesday night this week, we are going to have one final kind of open forum question and answer time on Zoom, and I'll be there, and some of the other mission directors will be there as well. So if there's any specific questions you haven't gotten answered yet and you want to join us on Zoom, that is open. I'll be there. If there's one or two of us, great. If there's 20 of us, great. But want to make that available. And again, we can't have all the numbers and all the specific questions answered because certain things we'll find out as we go. But it's been the task given to the mission direction team to say, within the ranges that we have, if this is this much or is this little, will it work? And what adjustments will we need to make? And we feel comfortable presenting it to you and saying, yes, with our faith, with the sale of our building, with fundraising and with growth along the way, then we will make this work. God will make this work. This can work. We feel very confident presenting it. Will we have every dollar up front to make sure that we have everything we need for 5 years? No, but that's not what we've ever had. What we would have is a large chunk of money from the sale of this building, a committed group of people going excitedly into a new thing, and then the growth that God will bring there. If we are here, God will help us grow here. If we're there, He'll help us grow there. So there will be others that will join us in this project, other businesses that will come alongside, other individuals that will join our church. I had a conversation with a pastor from a church this past week who has created like these satellite branches of his own church, and they've had things like sanctuary space and office space for rent and cafes and coffee shops. They've had these elements, and he said, I'd be happy to act as kind of an advisor for you and help you avoid some of the mistakes we made. I can recommend a great architect to you that could help you make the final plans, and these are the stipulations and regulations if you want to have a coffee shop. They're very specific, but we've gone through it multiple times. I can help, and I would want to help. Like, bring your people to me, we'll sketch things out, I'll recommend you, refer to the architect. Like, God's bringing the resources around us. This is not just going to be us. It's not me just saying, okay, how much money do I have in my pocket? How much money can we get from the sale of a building? Can we cover everything? No, that's never how faith works. It's not faith if you have every dollar in your pocket and every resource and every question answered. It's a calling. Do we feel called? Can we do this? And then see how God brings all of the pieces together as we go. So I'm very excited about it, but admittedly there are days where it's nerve-wracking. There are days where it's worrisome and I'm afraid, and then there's days where I'm excited. But as God continues to bring in more and more answers, more and more encouragement, more and more vision of what this could be, my own questions are just getting answered one by one. My own fears are just being put to rest one by one. I'm getting more excited the closer we get. The spiritual conversations that are coming out of this with people in Taunton, not even there yet, and already having spiritual conversations with the business owner, with neighbors, with others, that's going to be a fruitful place for ministry. I can see it already. Have a taste of it, and we're not even there. So I mentioned the vote coming up on March 1st. I mentioned the Q&A time on Tuesday night. There are already those who I have scheduled with Danny and Nicole for the new members class, which will be on Zoom on Thursday. So you already have the details for that. They've emailed that out to you if you are in the loop for that. And then we'll have a church service this coming Sunday where those people, after they've gone through the class, if they do decide to become members, we'll be able to pray over them. And then those people will be able to participate in this historic vote coming up on March 1st. So we might like to have lots of time to consider this, but our last 2 months of prayer and fasting is the time that God's given us. And so now in this last week, it's time to kind of bring things together. So I just ask you to think, how do you want to spend this week? Do you want to spend this week asking questions? Then please do. This is your opportunity. Do you want to spend this week in prayer and fasting, that God would give you clarity and that He would give you answers to your questions or help fears be put to rest? Then please do that. Do you want to spend this week dreaming? Do you want to meet together with friends, or do you just want to pray and ask God to say, what would this place mean for you? Are there specific unsaved neighbors and friends that you're thinking of that you want to spend this week just praying for them? Because this move would be for the purpose of bringing people closer to Christ and bringing people into his kingdom. We don't have to move to do that. This is just a greater opportunity to do that, more proximity, more engagement. But maybe spend this week just praying for the people that you know right now that need the hope of Jesus. And maybe even before we get to any other location, we'd see more white roses, more baptisms. Church, we should have white roses and baptisms every week. We're engaging with non-believers every week. We need to call them into the kingdom. And so this is a continuation of our missional growth. This is a continuation of what God has been doing. And we have a great opportunity here. So I look forward to this vote. I look forward to seeing what God will do with us and prayerfully do with us in another location. We are not our location, so whatever location can give us the best opportunity to serve people and teach them about Jesus, I say, bring it on. Let's see what God will do. So if you have any questions, even if you can't make the Tuesday night Zoom, please call me, call any of the mission directors at any time this week. We want to make sure that this week, with whatever information we have at hand, we will give. And if we don't, we will just be honest and say we don't have that yet. Or we have a range. It could be from this to this. But we're excited to say that this is something that God can use. And we're ready to see how our church feels. We're ready to make a final decision and see what God can do with a step of faith that we could all take together. So I pray for you this week, that it will be a blessed week for you in prayer and closeness with Jesus. I pray that it's more of a Mary week for you and for me than a Martha week. It isn't just about the busyness and demands of the day, but that we will just sit at Jesus' feet and enjoy being with him, and then see where he has us sit at his feet, whether it's here or elsewhere, once we get into next week and then moving forward. So God bless you, New Hope. I will look forward to the conversations we have this week. I look forward to worshiping on Sunday. I look forward to gathering and seeing what God does next Tuesday on March 1st. God bless.